My work today. I was not able to take the classes on 10 on time. There was a little bit delay in that. So we had some freshers day in the IR campus for the freshers. So I was not able to come back very soon. Okay. So in the last previous 9 classes, we have covered up to seed legislation, right? So we have started our discussion from floral biology, and then we have talked about the seed physiology, and next I just spoke about the quality control by the legislation that was incorporated with the Seed Act 1966 and the later amendments, policies, and the order. Okay, so this was all regarding the seed legislation part. So most of the time you might expect the questions from the Seed Act 1966, the sections directly from the sections, and what are the provisions of this Seed Act, or what are the provisions of seed control order or new policy on seed development, and also the national seed policy and the national seed project, which was undertaken in the 3 different phases, and what were the developments that has been made there. So most important development during the national seed project, which was in 3 phases, was establishment of state seed corporation. This was the major achievement of that particular project. So you can remember all these things, and if they ask anything from this particular unit, they will surely ask the things that I've said you. Okay, so there is one more new topic, which is plant variety protection, which is like you might expect, like who is the chairman of PPV&FRA, and whether the registration is compulsory in the PPV&FRA or the notification is compulsory, or they can also ask you like what are the different kinds of varieties that can be protected in India. So these are the type of questions that you can expect, and also the headquarters of PPV&FRA, where it is located. So just make sure to be till the end of this class and understand the things. So if you get any doubt in between, so you can just text me. Okay, you can just text in the chat box. I will be answering you all. And few of you have just sent me some doubts from yesterday, so I was not able to answer them, but I will surely do it after this class. Okay, this was for genetics and all, I know it, but still I was not able to answer them, so I will do it after this class immediately. Okay, so let us start our today's discussion with plant variety protection. Just give me a minute, I'll add some blank pages. Yeah, I think this is enough. Yes. So we'll start our discussion from the international organization about whether we will discuss about the organization which will regulate this plant variety protection all over the world. So can anyone just tell me, like, if there is any organization, any international organization which is actually regulating the plant variety protection, or specifically the breeders' right? If you know about any organization which is directly involved in the plant variety protection guidelines that are provided, which is applicable for all over the world. WTO, okay. This is related to trade. So I'm asking you about plant variety protection. Have you heard about UPO? It is Union for Protection of New Varieties of Plant. So this is Union for Protection of Plant Varieties of Plants. This is UPO. So this is an international union. So this is the organization, or the international organization, which will provide the guidelines for the plant variety protection and to have the breeder's right. Okay, so this will provide you the provisions in this particular organization, or the guidelines that has been made in this organization will provide the exclusive breeder's right, and also give you some certain guidelines that its member nations can adopt and should follow. Okay, so any country can become the member of the UPO, and if they are becoming the member of UPO and the guidelines that they are prescribing, they have to follow them. That's it. So this is about UPO, and this was established in the year 1961, and the headquarters of this UPO is located in Geneva, that is in Switzerland. Okay, so this was about UPO, and it has been amended for 3 different times in the year 1972, 1978, and 1991. So according to the latest amendment under this UPO, so there are some guidelines where the farmers cannot use their own seeds, or they cannot save or sell their own seeds. If they are growing or cultivating this or doing the process of seed production, they are not eligible to sell or sow the seeds. Not in terms of what you call seed production, in terms of cultivation of the crops, they are not eligible to sell these particular seeds or the varieties that are developed by any breeder by themselves, not even with their own brand name. Like they cannot even use their own brand name, and without a brand name also, they cannot sell those seeds of varieties which belongs to a breeder. So this was the important provision from the according to the latest amendment in 1991. That means the farmers do not have any exclusive right to sell so their varieties. Their varieties means which they have bought or from the market, and they are sowing it, cultivating it. Even after the one generation, they are not eligible to resell it. So this is the one of the major provision or the major feature or guidelines that has been provided by the UPO. Okay, so what are the objectives of UPO? Why it was formed? So the objectives of UPOs are like it will provide and promote. This particular organization will provide and promote the effective system for plant variety protection, a strict guidelines and efficient workforce in order to regulate the plant varieties or protect these plant varieties. So this is the major objective of UPO, and also it will encourage the development of new varieties. So how it will encourage the development of new varieties? Since this particular organization is providing the exclusive rights to the breeders so that they can protect their varieties, and also they will get the royalty if someone is using those varieties. So in this case, the breeders will be motivated to develop the new variety, which I also discussed in the previous class. So this is how it is encouraging the development of new varieties. And also it will provide the breeders exclusive rights under the IPR, that is intellectual properties right, which is called as plant breeders right. So this is under UPO. So these are some of the objectives of the UPO, and under which if the breeder is getting the exclusive right, then the breeder can protect his variety, and the name breeder is not itself limited to the breeder. Any person or any organization who is actually developing a variety is called as breeder according to the definition of UPO. That means like anyone can protect his own varieties whether he is a breeder or not. Okay. So these are certain objectives of the UPO. So there are exemptions. It's not like breeders actually enjoy the exclusive right. There are some certain exemption to this exclusive right that are being given to the breeders. That is exemptions to the breeders right. Can anyone tell me like what can be the exemptions to the breeders right under UPO? So under UPO, if a certain variety, for example, a variety A, this is developed by a person called as Varun. Let us take an example, Varun. He is a breeder. He has developed the variety, and this particular variety is in the public domain, which is protected now. It is already in the public domain, that is in the market. He is selling his seeds or the variety in his market, and this is in the public domain. So other person, a second person, let us take it as Arun. So he is also a breeder, but he is looking for a plant material to develop a certain variety which might be a pest or disease resistance or any kind of improvement that you want to incorporate. So if he is finding for certain plant material, he can actually use this A as a parent material, and he can develop his own variety, right? So if he is doing this process, if it is under EDV means the variety that is been developed by the Arun is exactly similar to the A variety which was developed by Varun, but there is only one character difference, one major character difference. So that type of category is called as EDV. So even if he develops as a EDV, he should ask the permission of Varun before protecting. He cannot directly protect his variety. For breeding also, forget about protection here. Even for the, at the first place, if Arun wants to develop a new variety using this A, he has to take the permission of Varun, right? Under the exemptions, he can use it as a research material. Like there is no restriction on using this parent material. But if he has developed a variety using the A material, then definitely he has to take a permission from the other breeder, which is in this case Varun. Okay, so this is a certain exemption where the other researchers or other person can actually utilize a protected variety. Yes, he can utilize it, but only as a research material. If even if he is using the parent material or repeatedly using the same material, he has to take the permission. Without the permission, he cannot cultivate or he cannot use it as such. Only for a short term research purpose he can do it. He can access the protected varieties, even all the protected varieties under the UPO. But exclusively, if he is just developing certain variety using it as a parent material or incorporating certain genes or certain genes to that particular parent material, then definitely he has to take a permission. So this is one of the important exemptions to the breeders' right, where even certain variety is protected, public will have the access to that variety only for the research purpose. Okay, so and also okay, this is on one of the exemptions of the breeders' right. And if the certain breeder is claiming for a protection, so it should be clearly distinguishable according to certain articles that are there in this UPO. There are articles in this UPO. So these but any type of variety which is for which the breeders applies for the protection, that particular variety should be clearly distinguishable from the existing varieties. Yeah, with permission will he get the right? It all depends on the royalty that he will offer or he will demand. Like for example, if a breeder demands for a certain royalty, he has to give it, but it's exclusively under breeder whether he will give the permission or not. But if he's just using it as a research material, he's not developing a new variety from that. He's just observe, just for comparing the his variety, is just using this as a research material. In that case, it is fine. He need not to take any permission. But if he's deriving the new variety from the existing variety which is already protected, then definitely he has to take the permission. And the permission, it depends on the individual. And I was saying about the article, right? So articles, there are certain articles in within this article 7. So variety should be clearly distinguishable in order to be protected. So you not to remember all these articles, but at least remember these things. And also the compulsory exemptions. Under this compulsory exemption, one I told you about the protection, where there is for the research purpose, anyone can use the variety. Second one is EDV. So it is encouraged to develop the EDV, okay, from the existing variety. So these are certain exemptions to the breeder's right. Even though breeder has protected his own variety, the EDV from this protected variety can also be developed, and also other members can use this plant material for research purpose. So these are the important exemptions. So these are all the compulsory exemptions under UPO that every member nation should follow. There is again a optional provision. So the optional provision is use of farm safe seeds. So this was earlier given, but in the 1991 amendment, this was also removed, where strictly the farmers cannot use their farm safe seeds. So this is the latest amendment, and this is in place now. This is currently working. So these are certain exemptions to the plant breeders, which are certain compulsory and optional. Now, for now, even the optional exemption is not available or not there. So, what is the guidelines or what is the conditions for obtaining a protection in case of UPO? So, under UPO organization, if a breeder wants to protect his variety, so he has to follow certain guidelines. So, one is the variety should be novel. That means it should be a new variety. Plus, the variety should have its denomination, that is name, and there are formalities in case of payment of fees. So these are the three important categories, three important rules you can say that has to be followed for any breeder if he has to protect his variety. So you can just observe here. So in Indian protection system, which I talked about yesterday, I asked you one question, right? So what type of varieties can be protected in India? So in that, I also included the new variety, extant variety. In the extant variety, we also talked about the farmers variety, the varieties of common knowledge, and also the last category, EDV. So all these varieties can be protected in case of Indian legislative system. But in case of UPO, it's only the new varieties which can be protected, not the varieties which are in public domain. So that is why the title itself suggests that this is the International Union for Protection of New Varieties of Plants. So this is the major difference between the Indian system and the international system. Okay, so this is just regarding the UPO. So now I'll just tell you about some important events that led to the formation of the Indian Protection System, Indian Plant Variety Protection System, which is known as PPV&FRA. Okay. So if you just read this word history, most of the international organizations which are currently playing a major role in keeping the international relations quite good is because of that all were set up after Second World War. So soon after the Second World War, there were trade related disputes because of the border issues that were taking place in majorly in the European countries and also with the other countries. So this particular problem led to the establishment of the international organization, important international organization, which is World Bank and International Monetary Fund and ITO. So ITO is nothing but International Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank. So these were the consequence, or these were established because after the Second World War, there was like a lot of trade-related problems that the countries were facing because of the war and border issues. There are so many issues in the European countries and also in the Asian countries, so which is actually creating the barrier for the trade between the countries. So that is why there was a awareness where it led to the establishment of these three particular international organizations. So after this, during this establishment, ITO established in 1948. So at the same time, but this was not successful because the member committee were not actually agreeing to set up this international organization because of certain guidelines which was not accepted by many countries. So this particular organization did not come into the force, or it collapsed. So this is for International Trade Organization. So soon after, in the same period of time, there was a GATT. I hope you have also heard about this GATT, right? So when was it? When was it set? What was the year of setup? It was in 1947. So this was done in the UN conference in Geneva. Okay, there was a conference in Geneva which led to the establishment of the GATT. So what is the full form of GATT? This is a General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So this was an agreement which was established, or which was established in 1947 because of the UN conference on the trade and employment, which held on Geneva in Switzerland. So, but this particular establishment of this particular agreement lacked an institutional structure. So it didn't have any proper organization or the workforce in order to regulate the trade and tariffs. So, but there was a agreement, but no institutional structure for it. So for this reason, after many rounds of discussion, there are different rounds of discussion. For example, it was Kennedy round, Tokyo round, Urgeri round. So all these rounds of discussion led to the expansion of this GATT, and it got amended several times. So at last in 1994, since it was established in 1947, in 1994 it was in Marrakesh Agreement. The name of the agreement is called as Marrakesh Agreement. So in this particular agreement, which was held on Morocco, this particular agreement led to the formation of WTO, the present day WTO, which is World Trade Organization. So this came into force in which year? Yes, it was signed in 1994 in the Marrakesh Agreement, which was conducted in Morocco. But what is the year of this year when this WTO came into force? You're not aware of it? It's Jan 1, 1995. Yes, very good. So it is January 1, 1995. Yes, remember it. So this particular organization, after its establishment, it replaced this gap. Since it didn't have any institutional structure, it was replaced by the WTO, which was established or it came into force in January 1st, 1995. Okay. So in this same agreement, Marrakesh agreement, there was another agreement called as TRIPS agreement. So this is very much related to plant variety protection. So in this, there is a one article called as 27.3b. At that particular time in 1995, all over the world, there was already awareness that the development of agriculture is mainly because of development of new varieties. So in order to the development of new varieties is only possible if we just provide some exclusive rights to the breeders. So this is how they thought, and for this particular reason, all the developing countries or all the member organization of the WTO, this particular WTO organization suggested or gave the guidelines or strict orders to all its member countries according to the TRIPS agreement, which is in which 27 point like 3b, it is mentioned that all the member nations of WTO should have, like, it gave the three option: either it should have their own patent system in order to protect the variety, or it should directly follow this UPO, like adopt the UPO methods or become a member of the UPO, so that there will be a development or there will be a no barrier between the countries, like there will be no discrepancy between the countries. There will be a uniform order where every country has its own protection system. So this is the second option that was given, and the third option was development of its own rules and regulation under the name sui generis. So what were the three options? One was to establish a plant patent system for protection of variety. Second one was to join the UPO, become as a member of UPO, and follow the guidelines that are provided by the UPO. And thirdly, to have its sui generis system. So when the agreement was done, it gave around 5 to 30 years of time for the developing countries to adopt or to take any one of these three options. In that, India got a 10 years of time frame, in which, like, within the 10 years of time frame from 1995, like, India has to adopt or it has to make its own legislation regarding the plant variety protection. So there is a one major problem. I hope like you have understood it. There was a one major problem in adopting the UPO. Why? Because since India is the land of agriculture where most of the farmers are small and marginal, so they cannot afford to buy the seeds every year, right? So because of this main reason, the India denied to become a member of UPO. So the only option that was left was development of sui generis, right? So it has done its own system, which is called as PPV&FRA. So India is the only country to have its own legislation in which it gives some exclusive rights to the farmers. Okay, still there are some developing countries who have where there is no protection yet, since the time frame given by ITO is still there. It is of maximum 30 years. Few countries have not adopted any of these three options. But for India, this was in 2001, 2003, and 2005. What are the different events that took place in the three different years? Can anyone tell me? So this PPV FRA was enacted in 2001, and also there will be a major confusion regarding three different years. In some, like, you also see like PPV FRA is mentioned as 2003 and mentioned at 2001 and mentioned at 2005. So I'll just tell you the difference, right? So in the first, the act was enacted in 2001. It has 11 chapters and 97 sections. And in the 2003, the rules were formed for this particular act, and in 2005 it came into force. PPV FRA, exactly after 10 years it came into force in 2005. And there is also one more year in 2006, the regulation system was brought into play. The major regulation guidelines was proposed in or to prescribed in case of 2006. So these are the 4 different years and the events that has been taken place, which is related to PPV-FRA. So where is the headquarters of PPV-FRA currently? What is PPV-FRA? Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Right. Farmers' Right Act. That is what FRA means. So currently, where is the headquarters of FRA? PPV-FRA. It is in New Delhi. So who is the chairperson or who is the chairman of it? Yes, very good. It's in New Delhi. Who is the current chairman of this PPV-FRA? Have you heard about the name KV Prabhu? Yes, very good. Trilochan Mahapatra. No, no, no. He's not. He's he's not the chairman of this PPV-FRA. Yeah, it changed. You are saying that current chairman is of PPV-FRA is Trilochan Mahapatra. Don't think so. I think recently it has changed. We had one. I still remember that we had one symposium last, I think 2 months before, where KV Prabhu sir came and actually he talked about the things that I said you. Only from there I came to know about all these things, which he talked about the UPO and how the India adopted all these things. This is how I remember that he was a chairman. Okay, recently he got appointed. Okay, so it is Trilochan. So Trilochan Mahapatra, what was his previous designation? Okay, I was not aware of this particular fact that the chairman has changed. Thank you. So, what was the designation that was given under ICR to this Trilochan Mahapatra? Yes, he was a DG of ICR. So, who is the current DG of ICR? And also in the NET exam, yes, very good. It's Dr. Imanshu Pathak. He's the current DG of ICR. Very good. So, in the recent NET exam, which I wrote for Citizen and Technology, they asked one question. That was, who is the first chairperson of PPV-FRA? And it is actually KV Prabhu. Okay, fine. So I just got remembered this particular question. So this was regarding the PPV-FRA Act, and it has 11 chapters and 97 sections. And where it is located, the headquarters is in Delhi, which is in the NASC complex. NASC is National Agricultural Science Complex. So this is adjacent to IRA only. So there are two main institutes that are adjacent to IRA, which is one is IARA, like adjacent to IRA is one is PPV-FRA and NBPGR and Indian Institute of Maize Research, IMR. So this is IMR is like adjacent to library that I go daily every day, and NBPGR at the backside end gate, and PPV-FRA is it's in NAS complex. That is again adjacent to this IRA. Okay, this is how you can remember all these things. I just explained that I just told you these things, but just to make sure that you can remember the headquarters since it is related to IRA. So now we have talked about the protection. So now what is the duration of protection in case of India? So this will be the most important thing that you have to remember, because you can definitely expect some question on this, the duration. So first one is trees and vines. We'll take the trees and vines first. So for trees and vines, it is 18 years, where initially for 9 years the protection will be provided, and then it will be extended for another 9 years. So this is also important. Just try to remember this date of registration. So date of registration under PPV&FRA, from that particular date, the protection will be given for 18 years. So initially it is 9 plus initial 9 years and then 9 years. So this is for trees and vines. So secondly, we have other crops. For all other crops, it is 15 years, which is 6 plus 9, which is mentioned by 9 ICAR. So it is 6 plus 9, where the initially 6 years of protection will be given. After that, it will be extended for 9 years. So this is also again from the date of registration for all other crops. But there is an exemption where extant variety, which are already notified, which are in public domain. So those type of varieties, which are called as extant varieties or extant notified varieties, so they are also protected again for 15 years, which is 16 6 plus 9, but from the date of notification. So this is the difference. They might confuse you with the following statements, so make sure to remember this. Yeah, you see, if I have just splitted it, because there is a higher chance that they might change the pattern of question that they are asking every year, and they can ask you for 9 plus 9 and 6 plus 9. But if they will either ask you in terms of plus, like year plus year, or they will give you a whole year. They can't mix both the things and give you either. If they are giving plus and plus, or if they are giving the whole number, just select them. They can't mix both the things and give you. Don't worry about it. So registration. So again, I told you, like, registration is again applicable to the new variety, notified variety, non-notified variety, also former variety, EDV, and also varieties of common knowledge. So all the varieties, just remember that all the varieties are eligible for protection in India, unless and until they are in that particular variety, there is no use of genetic use restriction technology. Okay. Nothing left. Okay. There is a one more concept called as compulsory licensing. So this particular compulsory licensing and compulsory labeling, so many of you will get confused. Even I was not aware of this particular difference till I came here as a MSc student. So compulsory licensing and compulsory labeling. So can anyone tell me the difference between the compulsory licensing and compulsory labeling? So first thing I will make it clear. This is under the section of PPV&FRA Act, and this is under Seed Act and Seed Control Order. So now can you differentiate them? 1983 and 1966. So compulsory, let us talk of compulsory labeling. I hope already know it. You all know the meaning of compulsory labeling. If the variety is notified or not. If the variety is notified, like if the once the variety is notified, whether it is certified or not, so there should be compulsory labeling, that the farmer or the seed producer should mention the standards, prescribed standards, in the form of label. Again, in the seed control order, it has been made compulsory for both varieties and like notified and non-notified varieties. So this is what we know about compulsory labeling. So what about compulsory licensing? So the compulsory licensing under PPV&FRA is a provision where, if after 3 years of time, so the time frame is 3 years. If after 3 years of time, a breeder who has protected his variety, a breeder who has protected certain variety, let us take it as A. A is a certain variety which is protected by a certain breeder. So if he fails to produce the seeds up to the market demand, or if there is a scarcity of this particular variety in the market, so PPV&FRA has an authority to give the licensing to the other producer to produce this particular variety. So this is only applicable after 3 years of registration of variety. So 3 years from the registration of variety, if the breeder fails to meet the demand of the seeds at a reasonable price or the quantity, or if he tries to manipulate the price so much, or if he just illegally artificially tries to raise the demand, in these particular cases, breeder rights will be suspended, and other entities like other organization or the other seed producers will be recognized, and they will be given permission to develop, like produce this particular variety according to the market needs. So this is what compulsory licensing means. Clear? Yes, like this was all for today. PPV&FRA. So just I want everyone's reply if everything is clear that I have discussed in today's class. I hope like this is very simple to understand, and I have tried to make it simple for you, because if you just read these things in a book, you might not find all this story that I shared with you all. This is only from the symposiums, and this was only from the conference that we attend, and where there will be a live interaction where scientists will share all these things. So this is how we come to know. This is not private, and you will get all these sources in the YouTube itself in the IRA. If you just go for IRA channel, there will be a different events that are being taking place. If you attend the every conference will be in a hybrid mode. So if you attend the conferences related to the your topics, then you will definitely get some good knowledge on it. Okay, so that's it for today, and from the next class we will start the seed certification, and we'll continue the seed what you call production, post harvest operations, and lastly seed testing. Okay, I don't know like next week I will be able to take the classes or not, because I'm going to my home. So I will make sure that someone will engage the classes, but we will surely I will make sure that once I come back, I will finish this within 6 classes maximum. I thought of finishing complete C technology in 6 classes, but the content that I have collected, I don't. It's not even possible for me to deliver all those things in 6 days. So that is why it is taking time. So now for today, 10 session I think. So it will take 6 more to complete the C Tech. Once you see all the 16 lectures of the C technology, at least minimum to minimum, you will be covering 60 to 70% of syllabus. That is minimum. In the rare cases, I have left anything. So I believe like if any difficult type of questions that you can expect is only from the seed floral biology and seed physiology, because I have not covered so many things in that particular area. Why? Because it is not even mentioned in this your prescribed syllabus. So if any difficult questions comes in the ICAR JRF exam, that will be from that particular topics only, because all other things are only facts, where we have started our discussion on legislation. So all the facts I have tried to cover it. So they won't be asking anything else from which I have not discussed, like from which I have discussed everything. I tried to cover it. So let's see like how the questions comes in the exam. I'm also eagerly waiting. So what type of questions they will ask in the exam. I also thoroughly analyzed the papers of 3 different years. Most of the questions were from directly from isolation distance, seed standards, physical purity, genetic purity standards, and regarding germination paper of different specific crops and percentage of off types. So these are the things that they have asked. So I'll just try to cover all these things in seed certification and seed production. So, and also I have given the one complete document on isolation distance, designated diseases, germination percent. So make sure to read it. It's very authentic, and it is just I have just taken the reference of this IMSCS to prepare that material. So there is no error in that particular material. You can blindly follow that. Okay, and you need not to distract yourself from just by comparing with any other author books. Okay, they are all outdated now. I have just referred the authentic manual, which has to be done, which has to be actually referred, and prepared the material that I have provided you. So make sure to download it and just revise it from time to time. I'm also just wanting to add the planting ratio in the same document. So once I do it, I will share with you all. Okay, it will take at least for another week to do. Like I also have some other materials which are being prepared. I'll just share with you all very soon. Okay. That's it for today. Thanks for attending. If you have any specific doubts, just text me in the WhatsApp, and all the doubts which were asked in the previous, like yesterday and today, will be answered soon. Don't worry about it. Thank you. Thank you for attending, and we'll meet in the next class.